Okay. Go.
Hello, Brady.
Hi, Peter. How you doing today?
You're good. I want to learn something from you today. I want to listen to you how you do self-care and some suggestions on self-care.
Self-care. It's very important in our stressful, busy, chaotic modern lives.
Hmm.
Yeah, is there any part of self-care that you want to start with?
Let's start maybe from physical ones.
Yeah, physical health care. Physical self-care. It boils down to, I think, a few things that have to be happening at the same time for basic physical health to be present. I find people need to be getting good sleep, good exercise, and good nutrition. That's counting like all vitamins, your proteins, your fats, your carbohydrates, your water. It's all got to be good sources, free of too much junk and artificial things that are counterproductive. People need to be getting proper sleep, particularly between 10 and 3, because there's things that happen in the body, in the brain, that only really happen during those hours. So ideally, people are getting to bed well before midnight and staying asleep the night through and waking up sometime in the morning feeling refreshed. It's also interesting to note that for a lot of history, people didn't only sleep once a day. People would sleep twice. You would go to sleep when it gets dark and expect to wake up sometime in the middle of the night, do something for a little bit, and then go back to bed. It's where the idea of a nightcap, like an evening drink, like a brandy or something, a port, just something enjoyable. That's sort of a thing that we've lost in modern culture with the whole rise of industry and factories. It's like 8 hours of work, 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of home. And that's kind of the pattern people fell into. But the importance of getting regular sleep during those key hours of 10 to 2 is more important, I think, than how long people sleep. So if I'm staying up late trying to get work done, going to bed at 3, telling myself it's okay, I can sleep until 9. Well, the hours may be the same as sleeping 10 till 4, but the physical effect isn't the same because there's certain body processes that run on a circadian rhythm, and only certain ones happen at certain times. So understanding that's important. Also, trying different ways, trying different techniques, learning to put myself to bed is something that I rediscovered when I had a son, because I realized that often in the process of trying to put him to sleep, I would fall asleep. And I had to realize that, oh yeah, I guess I'm way more tired than I think I am, because here I am trying to put this baby to sleep who's supposed to sleep 18 hours a day, but I'm falling asleep first. So that's another one, is like giving myself a chance to sleep and then seeing if my body wants to sleep. When it comes to food, there is so much information on what's healthy, what's not, what you should eat, what you should avoid. People have to really tackle this one head on and accept responsibility for it, because there's no way for anyone outside of your body to really know or understand what seems to work for you. For some people, vegetables. For some people, meat. For some people, a mix. For some people, pizza and cigarettes and coffee, and they can seemingly live a healthy, long life that way. It's bizarre to me how they can get away with it, but healthy eating as you best feel healthy is a big part of it. Some people like to take the approach of getting regular blood work done to see what's actually happening in their body scientifically. Other people are more just sort of like trusting how they feel, and if they feel good with a certain food as part of their diet, okay. If not, then okay. There's also things like knowing where your food is from. What's the pesticide usage? Are you concerned about genetic modification? Some people are, some people aren't. And that's a situation where if you are concerned about genetic modification, even if it isn't scientifically an issue, you being stressed about it means you're better off not eating genetically modified. If your stress goes up high enough at the thought of you eating genetically modified, remove it simply so you have that psychological de-stress. Because the other part of self-care that comes after physical is like mental. But
before we dive there, I think I want to ask one question, Brady. So, what if we don't provide ourselves enough self-care, or what prevents us from like self-care? Can you think about why, like, people, what keep people from providing themselves enough self-care? What's the consequence of that?
Okay.
We shift that before we dive to the mental, spiritual.
Okay. I need to think a little bit. We typically know what's good for us, and we typically don't do it either for pleasure or for avoidance of something that we don't want to engage with. So it's typically running to something we shouldn't run to, running away from something we know we shouldn't run away from. So people will put themselves into a poor state because they're staying up too late, trying to have fun. They're trying to avoid work, but then they have to stay up late working to catch up. People will use substances to try to compensate for lack of sleep or an excess of stress. People will drink or smoke to help get through the stress. People will use coffee, or like energy drinks would probably be like a worse version. They'll do things that throw their body out of natural rhythm, and then they need something else to help compensate that is not as good as if they didn't need it in the first place. And often this can come from what I would argue would be misplaced desires, like placing too much desire for making money. So people are working too much. They're too stressed. They're not able to get to sleep fast enough, so they drink before bed. But then that disturbs their sleep. So they wake up, but they're not feeling rested because alcohol interferes with proper sleep. So then they need caffeine in the morning. So they're in this cycle of working too much, caffeinating to feel awake, using alcohol to get back to sleep. And there's this cycle because something is more centered in their life than it should be. So what a lot of this, I think, can boil down to is if something is centered in our life that's not God, everything else gets thrown out of alignment. And one of the strategies of the enemy is trying to tempt us to value something other than God, even if it's something that's seemingly good, because then we end up with a little bit of a wobble, and then we're crashed to the side. And it's not even like our life is destroyed. It's just that we've stopped centering God, so the enemy's accomplished what they want to accomplish. And we end up in a state where our self-care isn't steady. Like the first part of self-care is centering God, and then from there, following what he says as much as we can, and recognizing when we're making mistakes and finding our way back, which would be like getting your good sleep, eating good food, moving your body in healthy ways, like necessary exercise, necessary discomfort. Those things are all important. For the mind, study, like learning, bettering ourselves should be a daily thing. And in that way, you can learn your whole lifetime. If you try to spend all of your days learning every day, you'll end up out of balance, and you'll have some kind of break. You'll have some kind of crack in your life where you rebel against it. So having some time every day dedicated to learning is good, including some time dedicated to biblical learning, because that way we're able to better understand what's going on, better understand our relationship with God, better understand what he wants for us. So that's body, that's mind, and then heart. Just learning to get better at forgiving, getting better at letting things go, getting better at loving people we find it difficult to love, getting better at letting God love us and letting that love flow through us to other people. So it's not all got to come from me. The love can flow through me. The grace can flow through me. The forgiveness can flow through me from him to someone else. I don't have to forgive from my own power. So that's where the heart starts to get helped, is when you bring in the spiritual self-care of spending time with God, accepting what he's giving, reminding ourselves of what he's giving, what we're getting from him, and letting ourselves have quiet time, like be still and know that I am God, letting ourselves have quiet time to actually feel that calm, that restoring, having time where we put our phone down and let ourselves be undistracted. And it lets us climb up that ladder of body, mind, heart, spirit, get that spiritual self-care. Then that recenters us, that recenters God in our lives. And then that helps us have that self-care flow down to where it should. It's easier to have my heart self-care done when my spiritual self-care is in alignment. And then it's easier to make sure I do the mental things properly, like holding each thought captive. Like, is this me, or is this just me being frustrated? Is this me, or is this a dart from the enemy? Did I put on the armor of God today? Okay, maybe I should put that on and just make sure that if I'm hearing something negative, it's actually something that's genuinely negative from within me. It's not just a dart of the enemy. And then, what am I doing with my body? Have I moved today? Have I had enough sleep? Am I angry with that person right now? Or am I probably just tired? I might be tired. Yeah, I didn't have good sleep the last few days. Okay, yeah, it's time for some self-care. I'm not going to try to deal with that person yet. I'm just going to go get some rest and then come back to it. So it's this sort of counterintuitive thing where trying to get the thing done that we want to get done becomes a thing that we center. That takes the place of God. That puts things out of balance in terms of self-care. That out of balance self-care causes knock-on effects that make it harder to solve problems. And ironically, by not trying to solve the obvious problem, by getting back to God, recentering God, getting ourselves back in a state where we're taking care of the basics, often a lot of problems will just dissolve because they were more just a symptom of dysregulation than an actual problem. And then if there is really a problem, we've centered God. We're more in alignment, and we can better able hear from him where the solution is, or what the solution that he wants in the situation is. Because it's so easy to fall into the human trap of trying to fix things in the world with my strength, because that's just sort of how life feels a lot of the time. But if I take the time to remember my relationship to him, and that my life is for him to reveal his glory, it's like, okay, right, yeah, God, where do you want me in this? Where do you want me deployed? Because that's going to be a better idea than I'm going to have. So self-care is tricky and important, and it's recentering God and then letting all of that spill into the other areas of life.
Yeah, and can you illustrate more about if we ignore self-care? What's the consequence if we don't care ourselves enough? I think for some people, it's easy for them to care for their family members, for their friends. It's not that easy to care for themselves. Yeah. What I think is it's very easy to either burn out or lose temper and feel physically fatigued. Yeah, so I really feel like if we don't provide enough self-care, it's like we pretty tend to be very negative, less productive, and more negative towards our attitude, maybe more negative.
There are times in life when we have to go all in on getting something done. Like, it's, if you're an accountant and it's tax time, you have to just work until everybody's taxes are done, because that's how it is. It's important to recognize that that isn't a normal state to be in. And there's going to be an extra cost of extra exhaustion and extra rest that's going to need to get reconciled after the busy season is over. Or if there's some sort of natural disaster, you obviously have to deal with that and keep working it until it's done. But when it's over, recognize that, okay, yeah, I just got drained. I need to recover from that. And with things like families and taking care of children and having a to-do list to maintain and trying to keep up with the success of other people around us, it creates this multifaceted pressure where there's all these different areas of life we feel pressured to maximize. And if we let that become centered in our lives instead of God, we start to serve the wrong thing. We start to serve social approval, or our perception of social approval, as a God, instead of pursuing God as God.
Yeah.
And we start to have the emotional upsets over these things that, from God's point of view, don't really matter. God isn't worried about how many followers we have. God is worried about how effectively are we listening and obeying him. Every person has a different call.
Yeah.
Just because I feel I want something in my life doesn't mean that that's God's call for my life. Often God tries to get us to go where we don't feel qualified, where we don't want to go, because that glorifies him even more. Look at this person who isn't suited to this job, who didn't want to go do it, and look at how successful they've become because of me. That's going to bring him a lot more glory than the person who's naturally gifted and talented and wants to go that direction. Sometimes he does do that, but often he will put people where they don't expect to want to be, and where they don't really feel they have the skill. But then by being there, they realize, oh, okay, God's changing me to excel here because this is where he wants me. So by trying to do too much for others, by trying to do too much for what we think is important, we end up getting further away from God, which makes the whole situation worse. And ultimately, we get ill, often increasingly seriously ill. I've known people who constantly self-sacrifice for others because they think that's a virtue. They feel like a good person if they're putting others' needs ahead of their own. But what they're also doing is they're doing that at the expense of their own lifespan, because they aren't taking good enough care of themselves. So what they're ultimately doing is they are robbing the people they love of someone they love, because this person is sacrificing their last 10 years to give a person a little bit more today, when ultimately there would be much more served if they were to take a little bit of that effort and put it into self-care, so that they'd be able to last a lot longer. And also what can happen is there can be a buildup of resentment, because if I sacrifice my self-care for too long and I start making unspoken agreements with people where it's like, oh, okay, they're asking me for this, well, I'll do that, but then they'll have to really appreciate it. And then they don't really appreciate it because I never vocalized to them how much I was sacrificing. So these things that we do, these extra things that we do, hoping to get something in return, can often go unreciprocated. And instead of me feeling better because I said no and I did some self-care, now I'm feeling resentful and tired, and they don't understand why and what's wrong.
Yeah. Thank you. So let's move to provide mental, spiritual, relational self-care. And when I think, based on my experience, and I think I have to admit, sometimes I don't feel comfortable, provide myself enough self-care, like taking a break. And even though I do enjoy it, but sometimes I feel a little guilty, or I should maybe work harder or work more. But when I practice self-care, and I feel like it's like the phone, I just update myself to a new version of software. So when I provide myself self-care, either doing exercise or spend some time along with God, I feel like myself is updated, upgraded, and I can see things differently and work more effectively. So that's why I realized Jesus spent lots of time pray and with God, and so he spent 40 days in the desert, and even during his ministry, he spent regular times early in the morning to pray. I think that's a way for him to provide the spiritual renewment, the spiritual self-care. So, and do you have something to share about Mental, spiritual, self-care.
Mental, spiritual, relational self-care. With God, we have a relationship.
Mm.
And like with any relationship, be it brothers or coworkers or a husband and wife or parents and children, some time needs to go into talking about the relationship itself. Like, are you happy? Like, what can we improve? What's working for you? What's not working for you? So it's a form of self-care to engage with people we're in a relationship with about the relationship. And to do that with God, it again takes some time. And often a surprisingly small amount, because God's pretty good at communicating when he wants to. So if we show up with consistency that we want to hear from him, where to improve in our relationship with him, we'll get it. And there's something valuable for us as humans, remembering that we're not machines. I can let my 3D printer run all night, every day, for weeks, months on end. It'll only stop when there's maintenance needed and something breaks. And I'll only need to stop it when something is very clearly starting to wear out, and now the print quality is down. I need to stop it and fix it, maintain it. But we're human, we're organic. We tire in a way that machines don't, in a way that computers don't. So often, the very idea of changing tasks will result in us being more productive than if we just tried to squeeze more energy out. One of the best things I ever did was start logging my work on an hourly basis while I'm doing my own work. This was even when I was still employed. I would just keep track of what I was getting done as I was trying to get work done. Like every hour, just a quick note of what I'd been doing that hour and what had gotten finished. And what I noticed is that if I ever spent more than 3 hours on the same task, my productivity in the last half of that third hour, that fourth hour, would start to decline drastically. And it shocked me how inefficient I became after the third hour. So I started to realize, oh, okay, I'm honestly better off doing something else after a good session of work. Something physical, something that's mental, but differently mental, because it's going to be restorative, and then I can come back after an hour and have a nice hour and a half, 2 hour, 3 hour work session than if I tried to just work for 7 hours straight through. I started to understand my own limitations, and something beautiful is that we get to have free will in life. We get to choose and experiment. And this kind of experimentation with, what if I work for 3 hours and then go play with my son outside for an hour, hour and a half, then come back and work again. I get more done those days than if I tried to spend the pure time just working. And I'm more fulfilled. My son is happier. My wife is happier because she sees me engaging with our son. And there's just something to that acceptance of my own limitations.
Yeah.
And if the stop is a stop to stop and pray, read the Bible, if the stop is to just have a hot shower and just let things wash away with the water, metaphorically and literally, it's just a restorative shift in my experience, and it lets other parts of me rest. And then there's that part of me that if I stayed in the shower too long, it's no longer productive. It's like, Brady, you're clean, you're turning pruny. The hot water is gone. It's cold shower now. Time to get out. So there's limits to everything, rest included. After a while, when you take a vacation, the first day feels great. Just do nothing, relax. Second day, third day, it's like, well, I got an idea of something I want to try, but I'm supposed to do nothing, so I'm just going to do nothing. The doing nothing is even unsatisfying after a while. A really fun video game. First hour, great. Second hour, okay. Third hour, I'm starting to get frustrated. And that's a sign where, okay, the rest has happened, the play has happened, and now it's no longer satisfying because it's time for work, or time for sleep, or time for exercise. Something else is needed. And by learning that I have a cycle as a person where I have all these different needs, it's good to regularly check in with myself. This is part of the self-care, is regularly checking in with myself. Would I be better suited by doing something else right now? what's gone undone for too long. That's probably the most important thing I do next.
Yeah. So I think, your words reminds me about some words I read before. So self-care, we can see in the Bible, God asks us to take a Sabbath day. So work 6 days and Sabbath for 1 day, and work in daytime, having sleep in the nighttime. So basically, that means there's a time and space for the good things to happen. Everything has its own time and space in our lives. So we need to attune our life or rhythm with the rhythm God built in us. Like you mentioned, having vacation is good, but if you have 2 years in straight as your vacation time, second year will be, if you travel around the world for one time and the second year you need to do it again, it's become a very boring task maybe. So there's a time and space for everything, and to make it beautiful. And rest, self-care has its time and space in our lives. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Something else that's interesting too is when I had a child and I started to notice just how dependent they are when it comes to food and being put to sleep, but I have to put him to sleep for him to be able to sleep. And obviously I have to bathe him because he can't bathe himself. And I started to notice that my wife and I, because of all the sleep loss, would start to let our own needs get neglected. And it's like, oh, I have to watch the baby and her and me at the same time. And I talked to her about this. So we started to realize that bickering and spats between the two of us were likely a sign that one of us has let one or two things that are important go for too long. It's like, when's the last time you showered? When's the last time you sat down and ate a meal uninterrupted and felt like a person? Okay, you need to go have a shower. I'll take him right now. When you're done the shower, I'll have a nap, and then we'll order food so that after my nap and after you've got him back to sleep, there's food here. We can both have a meal together. And if he wakes up, one of us will finish the meal. One of us will go. So it became this idea of it's us together against the challenges of getting everyone's needs met, instead of me versus you versus baby versus me.
Working as a team.
As a team.
Yeah.
And taking responsibility for the self-care of those around me, and making sure that I use my pressure in healthy directions toward my family. Like, oh, yeah, you did a lot of work. It's not just congratulations that you did a lot of work. I want to encourage you to rest now, or go play now, go talk to some friends, go do something fun, go do something restful. Because people can fall into this pattern of doing a thing that gets them complimented and rewarded, often something that requires a lot of effort, like work or athletics, and this can end up in a person not taking enough rest time, not getting enough downtime, not getting enough other things in their life, because if they're only getting complimented and encouraged in one area, they'll keep doing that area. But it's important for the people we care about to hear encouragement from us, of like, oh yeah, honey, go take some Bible time. You spent a lot of time this week getting ready for Christmas and getting all this done, and it all went really well. Let's take some quiet time. Let's take some Bible time. Let's take some rest.
Yeah. Let's pause here.
Yeah.
20